I'm sat with Will and Richard from Arcade Fire, just a few hours ahead of the show tonight. You played here last night. You got another one tonight. How did last night go?
Well,
the highs were high and the lows were weird.
And the middle was medium.
I mean, this is a gigantic room to play in. And
It's so gigantic.
It is really big. 19,000 people or so fit into it. But somehow you make it intimate with your live show. So what can people expect to hear on the radio tonight? I mean, what do you think? Describe the room for those who won't be in the room.
I mean, the radio listeners won't see us, the intimacy is of us taking off our clothes, so it may feel less intimate on the radio.
But you bring all these disco lights down, you've got dancers, you've got various different stage sets. Last night you had a special guest, Ian McCulloch joined you for a version of The Cutter.
Yeah. We kind of have like fake things that refer to being a ceiling that come down out of the air over the crowd to make it feel a little bit more like you're in a disco club rather than in a giant cathedral.
Yeah. Because it's the downside of being popular. You have to play big places, but at the same time you want to commune with your fans as well.
Yeah, it's this or like 30 nights at the Troubadour.
So, any surprises tonight?
Boo.
I was lucky enough to see a bit of the sound check, and I thought I heard a Smiths cover.
Is that the Smiths?
Was
that
the
the Smiths? I always mix up the Smiths and the Cure.
I always just call it YouTube Mix. Track 1 off YouTube Mix.
All that British music sounds the same to me.
Excellent.
Sorry, is that terribly racist?
How does it feel now? You're quite a few months on after the release of Reflector. You've been taking it to the world in various different ways. You've got, in effect, 2 types of shows. You're doing festival dates and the ongoing Arcade Fire Reflector tour. Which is better, and how do you cope with each?
I mean, our dates are mostly inside, and they're a bit more like a club, and the festival dates are outside, and they're a bit more like a street carnival.
And by club, he means sports arena. By street carnival, he means smelly festy.
No, every show is different.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Reflector tour dates in London are different. Is different from the show in Brussels. Is different from the show in Paris.
Yeah. Fact.
So it's each show is its own creation anyway. So the festival aspect is almost no more alienating than going from Portugal to Paris. You know what I mean?
So is that all planned in advance then, making sure that each show is different, or do you make it up when you get to the country?
It just happens.
Right. So, I mean, by different, do you mean you embrace aspects of the country that you're playing in, or you?
I mean, physically, you're going to a different space every time. So a particular arena won't have space to do the trick with the descending ceiling lights. So you don't have those, and then you have them one night and you've forgotten that you had them, or.
And people care about different songs in different countries. It's also remarkable. And even different crowds in the same country, in the same city, respond to songs differently. In some cities, It's Never Over is the best song of the night, and people just like go nuts for it, and then some cities it's mellower. It's quite. Sorry, it's inexplicable.
Yeah.
And so what's it like on stage when you wear these big heads at various different times during the show? I mean, what's that like as an experience? Is it claustrophobic?
Yes.
Hot.
It must be really hot.
Blinding. Hot. Annoying.
And how much of the
Terrifying.
sets do you have to wear those heads?
Very little.
Right.
Very little.
You can't do much in them
Yeah.
except look like a fool.
Yeah.
But that's, looking like a fool is not nothing.
No. It's a type of entertainment.
But didn't you used to wear, you used to wear a crash helmet and hit yourself with hubcaps or
Those
something.
are designed to see through, though, generally.
True. Good point.
Paper mache
But
head,
that
you just
must
see
have
through the nostrils, and you can't see anything, and the sound is echoing, and it's...
Although it would look incredible, someone seeing a dude go by on a motorcycle wearing one of those things.
This idea of the carnival stems from the experience of the band in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that experience stay with the band now in terms of the shows that you're doing? I mean, can you still see a connection?
Well, I always big up Richard's childhood when this question comes up, because his dad was a British medievalist, so he grew up with full-on British carnival all year,
Wagons.
like medieval
Mummers.
Moors dancing and
Mummers plays.
the York cycle.
Morality plays on wagons.
So
Wow.
that's deep in his bones.
Yeah. It comes as absurdly second nature being in the middle of that stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. You probably experience more British traditions than British people have.
You know what? I would actually put money on it. Not to seem arrogant, but I was sitting with Mara Carlisle last night, and we were just like talking about our pasts, and I was just like listing all my stuff, and it was like she was just like, nobody I know knows anything about this stuff. Like, this is the culture of our island, and it's like, yeah, well.
Wow,
Weird.
amazing.
Which is,
Life
and it's
complex and weird.
It's the same spirit as the Haitian carnival in many ways. There's the topsy-turvy nature of it, where the high are low and the low are high, and you're marching through the streets with bells on your ankles, and it's there's a very similar spirit there.
Which is also the same spirit, like a lot of historians think that the Jacmel carnival is the closest thing existent to the 15th century, like French carnivals. It's like that's kind of where a bunch of that came from and came over in various guises and forms. But that's super interesting, to know that was like of the French culture, and then that's totally changed and doesn't really happen in France in the same way, but that it's alive and well in this other island in the Caribbean, and it's like it's a sort of a universal thing. It just happens to be particularly raw and unfettered by tourism and development in that place.
And I guess in a way there's always been a carnival spirit.
That's the part that stays with you also.
Yeah.
Is like being in the middle of a raw version of that, where you're just like, whoa, like, the stuff I grew up with was like reenactment, and it was amazing, and everyone was into it, but it was still like...
You definitely had permits for that. Maybe not.
Question mark, but...
I mean, I guess the carnival spirit has always been there in Arcade Fire. I mean, those early shows always, you traipsed through the crowd and created an extension of the show.
Yeah, it's definitely not, doesn't feel like a put on in any way for us. It just feels like some slightly different fun aesthetic things to add into the mix.
What do you feel about Reflector now, the album? Are there songs now that you're playing in the set
3 stars.
that are taking on a new... Excellent.
Hopelessly overrated.
But are there songs that have taken on a new life for you or a new meaning since you've been playing them live?
The nights when It's Never Over is good, is really exciting.
Yeah.
It feels like future music.
Yeah.
It feels really fresh and really... It feels vital for this band.
Which it did as a recording too, but as a recording was like a weird pastiche, like how we came to it, like what we arrived at with that song was so a weird road to get there, and really cool and felt alive, and then it was like, whoa, how is this going to work? And now it's like, oh, we really threw the carrot way out in front of ourselves on this one, and then ran a really long way to catch up to it, but it feels like we're in it now, which is cool.
And how much of the album is in the live set?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
About half the set and about half of the album.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I
I
really
just said
counted
it.
lately. I would say about half the set and about 2/3 of the album.
Oh yeah, maybe 2/3 of the album.
There's a couple songs that we just like don't play off the album, but only a couple.
Yeah. Which of those and why? Are
We
they
have
just
yet
not?
to figure out Awful Sound.
Yeah.
We have yet to figure out Porno.
Yeah.
And Here Comes the Nighttime too, but that's kind of an interlude.
Yeah. Yeah, those are really the only two that we specifically do not play.
I'm intrigued by by the personnel of the band? Obviously, there's a core group, but who else is in the band? Is Colin Stetson playing with you on this tour?
He is not. He played on the album, and he played on the album with Stuart Bogey, who is touring with us, playing saxophone. And so Stuart Bogey and Matt Bowder are playing saxophones.
Yeah.
And Sarah Neufeld and Owen Pallett, who both been with us forever, are playing violins. I mean, Owen has been in and out, and he's got his own. He's just had an album come out, In Conflict, in stores now.
Really good.
And then we have two Haitian drummers, Diol and T. Will, as opposed to Grow. I'm Grow Will, meaning Big Will, and he's T. Will, meaning Little Will.
Grow Will meaning Fat Will.
Fat Will. So we have two Haitian drummers, and T. Will played on the album, and then we brought in Diol to tour with us.
I mean, it seems that Montreal specifically seems to create this atmosphere of musical exchange, and that there seem to be different collectives of musicians who hook up with each other, and in some ways, Arcade Fire is a great example of that, but going back, I'm thinking of people like Godspeed, and
sure.
Why does that happen? Why is it so specific to Montreal?
Well, people develop individual talents, and then you use money to exchange those talents instead of just developing all the talents yourself. It's like and then you trade those. It's a real division of labor.
You trade those talents for goods and services.
No, originally it's a very cheap place to live, that's always attracts a certain scruffy artistic type.
And originally it's always been a hodgepodge of cultures. Like it's really like the kind of standard teenage graphic demographic in Montreal is like this amazingly unique hybrid of like French goth and punk and hippie and Portuguese and into classy things and electronic music on Sundays and playing congas on the mountain on Sunday mornings and post Catholicism. Like it's just a really unique hybrid of cultural mishmash, and I think many bands out of Montreal have just grown out of that because they are of that, and then people come in from other places because it's cheap to live and an interesting place to be culturally, and the summers are a joyous hell ride, and it's
sounds fantastic.
Proper melting pot. I mean, as it is here, like the Notting Hill Carnival here is like, that's one of the most amazing cultural things I've ever been to in any city anywhere. Kind of that holds up against any mind-blowing experience I've ever had anywhere in the world.
Arcade Fire at the Notting Hill Carnival? That seems
tried.
like a good idea.
Yeah, we've actually tried. Yeah.
But it's not happening this year, at least.
No, sadly not. Yeah. We're going to be in North America.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But you do have some more UK shows. You're playing at Glastonbury, headlining at Glastonbury, which is a pretty big deal from our perspective. How does that feel for you?
Pretty big deal from our perspective, too. Yeah.
I mean, you've played Glastonbury before. What can we expect this time? With the extra pressure.
Metallica.
Well, the campaign's out. People are trying to stop the bear hunting.
What can you expect?
So I don't know. It's like 2 weeks from now, so we haven't even really thought about it that much yet.
It's true.
It would be great if you brought in some of these British traditions that you know so much about. You all came on as mummers.
Expect Morris dancing, mummers, and morality plays. The Tale of Paul.
We'll be doing the full York cycle. Give it up for the Christ child. Oh, hail the Christ child.
It's Titty Willis.
After Glastonbury, you're playing at Hyde Park.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you keep it interesting for yourselves? I mean, you said that every time you play somewhere different, it is different. It's a different show, and there's such an energy to what you do. And how do you keep it different for yourselves, keep enjoying it, and keep that energy? Where does it come from, and how do we get it too?
Tickets on sale now. Energy is available through tickets.
No, we've learned on a technical, boring side. We've learned our limits. We've learned that you can't do more than 3 shows in a row. And this tour is actually quite long for us, but generally you don't do more than 3 or 4 weeks on the road, and then you take a month off and you live life, and life re-energizes you, and going home and eating good food. So there's technical aspects to it, and then you try to eat a good dinner.
Yeah. Try to eat a good dinner, and you try and do something. We try and do something different every night.
Yeah.
Like whether it be that we throw, like for a while, we were, and still will to some extent, I think we were like throwing ourselves a local cover song to do at every show. It's like, let's play a song from the city that we're in, because it is fun for people to recognize a song that's not by us from the place that they are, and it's also fun for us to have to learn a new song every day, and it keeps us alive and not slipping into tour lethargy.
Yeah.
And then even if we're not learning a new song that night, it's like play something a new way, or do like dance while you're playing a song that normally you stay still for, or just like things as performers.
And also asking the audience to dress up does make it.
It really does.
It does make it so different, because you have the hilarious Banana Man in one show, and you've got like a group of a dozen cowboys in another show, and it actually you see it's different places, and then you see in one room it's all 16-year-olds with like face paint on, and then the next show it's all 65-year-olds with face paint on. And you just that aspect of people dressing up and people getting geared up for the evening makes it so much less anonymous.
It does,
it
and so much more fun.
Like, oh, I'm in a place and these people are here specifically, and I'm going to perform specifically for them. So
you can
that
also
trick has worked for us.
It's nice to see, like, there's all sorts of people go to see music for all different reasons, I think, and it's really nice to see that when people dress up, it really is visually demonstrative to us that they are there to enjoy themselves and to have fun. Like, there's something quite generous. Like, we receive something, I think, when people dress up and come to the shows. That's really fun, and that keeps it really fresh. It's like, oh yeah, right. People are excited to be here. They're not just here because the internet told them that we were a must-see live band, or you know what I mean, like the kind of little bit more boring or cynical or less specific reasons that one would go see a band, or just because your friend was going. But it's like, oh, they're all dressed up like for St. Patrick's Day, like they really want to be here, and they want to be here in costume,
Yeah.
And that gives us something, and that's really, we love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, especially in the UK, I mean, that idea of dressing up has been reserved for things like Glastonbury or maybe Festival, and people do get really, really involved. But you're creating this as
That's mostly
band.
hats, though, to be fair.
Well, maybe. I mean, you do see some amazing sights, with people, say, all dressed as table football people.
Yeah, right.
All connected by a pole.
Yeah, right.
And then they have to negotiate the whole weekend like that. No.
Oh, the defense are hammered. You're not pulling your weight, guys. This pole is heavy.
Do you think you're going to have to reinvent this whole thing again when for next time round? Would you change back to being a straight ahead, all in black, dark room?
I think next time we'll request just black turtlenecks. Everyone wear a black turtleneck.
And you must be wet before you come in the room. You must be doused in water.
Tell me about the volunteers, because you kind of call for volunteers at each show, is that right, to get involved? And what kind of things do they do, and what's that all about? How easy is that to organise?
For a long time, we've given $1 per ticket. There's been $1 per ticket on every ticket that's gone to an organization called Partners in Health. We've been doing this since 2007 or something like that. And the money aspect of it is great. But you also want to build a community around it. You want to find people who are interested in the work that PAH does in Haiti and does all around the world. And so we're already touring with 12 trucks and all this infrastructure. So we wanted to give some of that infrastructure to trying to organize something for Partners in Health, just so that you can connect a bit of community and get people excited. And that we've got a great team behind all that.
Yeah, and to connect the event also to something bigger outside of that. It's just rock music and it's just a night of fun and good music and hedonism or whatever. It's like, it's also nice to always, to just never forget that it is good to be doing something really constructive and helpful with your life beyond just making people happy for an evening. And the $1 per ticket thing goes such an insanely long way that, like, I don't even think people even comprehend how far that goes in the circumstance where it goes to.
So the volunteers talk to people, and they have information, and then they also, it also helps energize the volunteer. It's almost as much to get these people that are already interested to kind of cement their interests, to show that there's these other kids, like the London volunteers now know all these other people in London who are excited enough about this to volunteer.
Yeah.
And that connection is as important as talking to the people in the crowd almost.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like an Arcade Fire volunteer army that you could call on at a later date, but maybe you will. No.
When the zombies rise.
Yeah, this is the frightening thing. They'll all be wearing those masks, and there'll be a banana man and 12 cowboys and that kind of thing. Does it help that there are so many of you involved in this ongoing project? You know, that there are 12 trucks of equipment and so many people in the band that help in the sense that it kind of keeps you sane and keeps you kind of motivated? Because I'd have thought, you know, with the touring schedule, as touring schedules are, you know, day in, day out, that can become quite a drag, and definitely for individuals that can weigh a bit heavily on them. But
there is a weirdly motivating factor about that. It's like we're really this proper traveling community now, you know. It's like our crew is so incredible and works so insanely hard, such insane hours, you know. They have to like come in here in the middle of the night literally to start setting stuff up so that everything can be safe, and there can be, you know, moving rigs and mirrors and confetti and stuff like that. And there's something motivating that if one was just on a solo tour in one's minivan or something, you just might be like, I just can't play tonight. I'm tired. I don't like the world. I'm not going to do this. And that would be sort of more fine if you were just alone in your minivan with your sound person.
Yeah.
But when your truck drivers drove 19 hours from like Germany, you know, all through the nights to get here, and then your lighting guy got up at 4 a.m. to make lobby call to come and set up the lights, you're really grateful to be surrounded by this support team helping this event happen. That becomes this sort of incredible visual event, and this, you know, this whole multifaceted thing, and you are so grateful for that. And then you also then have something to, you know, you are accountable to that to some degree, and then you really have to rise to just needing to do your job the same way that everybody else is doing their job.
Yeah. Will there be a DVD, a book, you know, a cinema experience for those who can't come to these shows? I think would be pretty special.
There'll be some sort of skin flick.
Well, you've got porno on the album.
No, I mean, that would be the dream. We've never properly captured the live show, and we would love to properly capture the live show.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if the LCD Sound System Madison Square Garden show, and that film is so good, and then the Record Store Day release of the recording of that was so well put together, and it would be a great thing to reflect that with the
I get it. James Murphy is great. Yeah. James Murphy's such a genius. I get it. Okay, thanks.
You got to steal ideas wherever you can. No.
Yeah, I'm sure James did a perfect job. Thanks for bringing it up.
I want to see that as an Arcade Fire thing. No, that's what I want.
Why don't we talk about David Bowie now?
Yeah, is he coming to play tonight? Is he singing? Is he going to sing in Glastonbury? No, I think that would be great. I'm intrigued to know how you can bring the Montreal experience to the world, or maybe you are bringing the Montreal experience to the world via these tours that you do. You know, because it seems to me the way you described that scene and that city, for people who are interested in music and culture, it sounds pretty special. You know.
Oh, that was like 10 years ago. Then.
That's why you're on tour all the time.
Yeah, it's all gentrified now.
No, I mean,
no. If you go to Montreal for the summer, there is a jazz festival. They like shut down the downtown core for the entire summer for a jazz festival, followed by a comedy festival, followed by an African music festival, followed by a reggae festival, followed by a French music festival, followed by a world cinema festival,
followed by Pop Montreal.
Followed by Pop Montreal, yeah, into the fall. It's, you know, literally, it's like be thousands of people out in the street, and there's this giant movie screen, and they just like shut down one of the main drags so that everyone can watch movies for 2 weeks. It's great.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
and
so
no wonder.
If you actually want the Montreal experience, you have to go there.
So book out the whole summer. Is that June, July, August?
Yeah, chunk of the downtown, like they really prioritize.
Every Wednesday and Saturday they close one of the main bridges so they can shoot off fireworks.
Yeah. Twice a week. Yeah.
That's amazing. I should let you go, really, because I think you've got a show to do. Do you want
Set
to
us free, John Kennedy. Set us free.
Do you want to choose a song from the album I can end this conversation with?
Ready to start.
You already know.
Thanks.
No, you already know.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, it's a great idea. Richard, Will, thank you so much for giving us your time, and have a fantastic night tonight, and enjoy the ongoing relationship with Britain, Glastonbury, Hyde Park. And I think our listeners in Scotland and in Manchester would love to know that you're going to come back and play in other parts of the UK at some point. Is that a possibility?
Possible.
It's possible, but I mean, I've got a baby that I've got to go coddle.
Everyone has families to attend to right now.
No,
so.
One of the highlights of our year was playing in Barrowlands
in Glasgow.
Glasgow in November. And it would be a shame to not go back to Glasgow and to not go to Manchester and all these places.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see. We do have some decisions to make.
Yeah, the Barrowlands show did sound really special, and everybody left, and you kind of started up in the middle of the floor, and that sounded fantastic. I'll let you go. Thank you so much. This is You Already Know.